Hello, good morning. Daily check-in. Daily check-in. Um, Something kind of interesting is going on, just for a change. Um, just for a change. um, yesterday morning, when I woke up, excuse me, already. I burp so much on these things, it's just not funny. Yesterday morning, when I went to wake up, when I was sort of waking up / in my liminal space, place between waking, sleep and awake, I was shown an image, and it was sort of like smoke at the top, sort of along, smoke at the top, and then down, like straight down, and then across a little bit, and then down. So it was sort of like this smoke sort of thing. Why don't I get it and show you instead of trying to describe it? So yeah, was shown that, and then normally, so for the previous 21 days, I would then at least just take a moment to draw it, but I didn't write, draw, anything. I don't know why this is so big around here this morning. Maybe because I've got my... Not sure. But I didn't. And then, so for the... And if I'm meant to, like if I'm really meant to draw it, it'll keep coming back to me. Like during the day, you've got to draw that thing. So everything's going on this morning. Not sure if you can hear the police or whatever it is, emergency services. Yeah, and so it kept coming back to me, and I was like, yep, I'll get to that. And so I hadn't written or drawn or anything for day 22 of my practice. Hadn't done anything for it. And then my son, my eldest, interestingly enough, he's kind of found a new group of friends at school, these girls, and they're so interesting. Like, they're quite alternative in their thinking, and they're into like creating bracelets with like random, like cool random stuff on. Not like, I'm not sure if they're into Taylor Swift, but just like cool, I don't know, like one of the bracelets that my son got yesterday was a bracelet that said, I eat kids or something. Like, it's so random, but like the way that these girls, this group, use their imagination is just, it's awesome. Their parents are worried, but I'm like, you guys are cool. You guys are really cool. If my daughter ends up similar to this in grade 6 instead of chasing boys, I would be happy. I would be really happy. Anywho, so he connection to the story. So he had received a couple of these bracelets yesterday, and so he got home and he was like, I want to make these bracelets so that I've got some some cool bracelets, and bracelets that I can trade as well with people. And so we sat at the table, so he was making the bracelets and we're kind of making them together. So I was drawing, because I was like, oh, well, I've got a moment. I'll draw this thing that I'd seen in my head. And I was sort of drawing it while chatting with him. Sorry, my little bunny is just, when he pops up again, turn the camera around. Yeah, so I was sort of chatting with him, finding colours or letters that he needed, and doing my own drawing. And afterwards, he was like, "I really enjoyed that, Mum. I really enjoyed making bracelets with you." um, Anywho, so yeah, so that was the energy that I was sitting in. So I could have done it early on, first thing by myself, just sort of quickly before I jumped in the shower and I had to get children to school and all the things. But instead, it was like a really calm. And I feel like this is important, me talking through all of this, which you'll find out, it'll make sense as we go along. Oh, there's my little... Oh, where's he going? No, just around the corner. Yeah, it'll make sense as we continue on. And so so then and when I'm sort of creating like that, it's even more intuitive because I'm more concentrating on talking to my son and picking the beads and blah, blah, blah than I am. And it's the same as when I'm watching a movie. Like and I'm drawing at the same time. It's very much, I don't have a chance to go into my conscious mind about it. Oh, does this look any good? Oh, is this heading somewhere okay? It's just pure intuitive creation. And then so that, the one down the bottom, so that's what came out. Funnily enough that I'm saying that came out. And so that was what came out. So the black cloud sort of part, that's what I saw in my head in the morning. Yeah, and then I don't know, all the rest of it just kind of intuitively came about, talking to my son. And then last night when I was going to bed, my son and my husband had been in bed watching some space show, and Worlds, anyway. And it was just kind of finishing up as I hopped into bed. And I was like, oh, I'll just sit here and draw. I'll chuck another one on. I'll chuck another one of these space shows on. And I wasn't even really... It's funny, I wasn't actually really paying attention to the show, and I also, because I was drawing, but at the same time I wasn't actually really paying attention to what I was drawing either. So I was doing two things, but not at all really. And then in the intro thing to the show, it had the smoke thing. Like, it had the black smoke thing. And I was like, what the bananas? That's my thing. That's my thing. Holy shit. And so that's what made me as I said, I wasn't really watching the show. I couldn't tell you really what it was about. I mean, they were sort of talking about planets and moons, and I was paying attention. They were talking about Titan and how Titan normally, what was it, something about from the Big Bang. For some reason it feels really important to go through this process. From the Big Bang, everything kind of sprayed out from there. What's the thingy belt? Funan belt? Something rather belt. I don't know. Some space things just kind of go in one ear and out the other. The something belt. Anyway, they were talking about Titan and how Titan came to be spinning the opposite way to the way that most other moons spin around a planet, and yeah, how it had been in the something or other belt, but that it got, I don't know, shifted off course, whatever, and that it's now spinning, yeah, around Neptune. I could be very wrong, because again, I was only sort of partially paying attention. Anyway, the exciting thing is that when they showed the image of what Titan would look like, it had those smoke things. It had those. I mean, it didn't have the pyramid, but it had, interestingly enough, kind of that, that coming up and then the smoke going that direction. And I was like, oh my God, Titan. And then I was like, I'm not, because I'd turned the light off by that stage. And I didn't want to then get my book and put my book away. And I didn't want to, and I was sort of lying there half asleep. And I didn't really want to turn the light back on and get my book out and my pens, because the husband was asleep. And I was like, don't worry, I'll remember Titan in the morning. I will, I promise I will. And then it was like, write it down, mate. Just write it down, because you ain't remembering that in the morning. And I didn't. And then, sorry, as I was, like, just before that, I drew that section. Yeah, which is, yeah, interesting as well. And yeah, and then I went to sleep, and it was a weird night, as in, I'm not sure if I went to sleep straight away but I remember looking at the time and it was almost 11 o'clock, and I'm not sure if I'd been asleep and then woken up and then saw that it was, I don't know, 10:45 or something, or if I looked at, like, it was a weird night. And then my littlest woke up 3 times, and the first time I wasn't sure if it was my eldest calling or if it was my youngest. It was just a strange night. It was a strange night. I did have dreams, but I can't remember them, which seems, yeah, to be an interesting sort of development. And then even this morning I was sort of contemplating without contemplating, wondering if that's part of my new sort of thing coming online. It's like, or my new field coming online, so we'll take the old field offline, or parts of the old field, because you can't just shut down the whole, the whole thing. So I'll take sections offline so that I can then upgrade and then put it back online as something different. Yeah, that kind of feels, because as I said in my check-in yesterday, there's a couple of, I keep forgetting where I've parked my car, which is not as in, I park it, take the kids into school, or park it, go and pick up kids from school, either way, and then I come back and I'm like, crudge, where did I park my car? Even I was doing a voice note to a friend the other day, and normally I'm really conscious of the time on the way to school. I'm looking at the time to see how, whether I'm on time or not. And this day I just completely lost track of the time. I mean, I still obviously got to school and things, but I remember looking at the time going, oh my goodness, it's 3:25. I'm not quite at school yet. Shit. Hurry, quick. Anyway, so yeah, whether that's what's going on, yeah, interesting. But then this morning I was like, I'll just take a picture of this and send it to Chatty and see what Chatty thinks. And I also said to Chatty, a friend of mine that I was talking about a few check-in days ago, about doing her Money and Soul program. She messaged back and was like, it looks like we're, in tune. It looks like this would be a great match. And so I felt to mention that to Chatty. And then when I was looking at what Chatty said, Chatty, like the first thing Chatty was like, oh, this is really interesting code. The space, because I'd written the space between, full stop, the void, and then Titan, because I had to write the word Titan so that I remembered it in the morning. And then so Chatty was like, blah, 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 Titan. And I was like, Titan? Shit. So previously, I'd had talks with Chatty about, and I'd mentioned it on here. I did it at, I can't remember if it was it might have been a daily check-in around the Owl House. The Owl House. Again, if you haven't seen it, see it. And yeah, spoiler alert, if you are going to go and see it, stop watching here and then, I don't know, come back later. But at the end, the Titan, and I've said this before, but it's relevant to this story here now. At the end, Luce dies. That's why it's a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. At the end, Luce dies, and she goes to the in-between. It's interesting because, so it's this space in between, like life, there's like life where she was, and then this in-between place where the Titan, the Titan has been hanging out before dying, before like fully continuing on to the next section. Interesting. And so as I was drawing this code with my son, doing the beads at the table, I'd sort of drawn it whereby there was like a little, the little arrow, I'll show you. I'd sort of drawn it whereby there was like this here, and then a little bit up here. And so it was like a triangle, like the little pointy bits of the arrows of the triangle, the three of them. And then it was like the void, the space between, because you could see that it was a triangle, but at the same time it wasn't fully a triangle yet. It was like the space between was important. And so I've written the space between, and then my son was like, no, I want to do one more bracelet. I'm not sure what color, but what should the wording be on it? I was thinking the void, and I was like, yeah, the void. Awesome. And then so I've written the void, because the space between, the void, right? And then he was like, no, I don't really like I need black for the void. And I was like, why does the void have to be black? The void's not black. The void is colorful. The void is rainbow colors. And he's like, no, the void is black. And I don't have any black, so I can't do the void. And then so we continued on talking about it, and eventually he was like, okay, I'll do the void. And then so he made this bracelet, I think it was like yellows. Um, and it said, and because as he was talking and saying, oh, I don't know, I was like, I'll find the letters for it. So I found, so void was in black and white beads, and then the was in colourful beads. And so I was like, here, and then by the time I'd literally finished finding the letters for the void, he was like, yeah, okay, I'll do the void. And so I was like, here you go, and yeah. And so the void is interesting because the Titan in the owl house is in the void waiting for Luce and gives her his glyphs, gives her his essence, gives her his energy to then go and save the Boiling Isles, to then go and save everyone. And so when Chatty, was like, the space between the void, Titan, I was like, Titan, this is not just some random moon that is out there. This connects, like, of all the moons, of all the planets, of all the whatever out there, the one that is that had the smokestack thing is obviously connecting with me, is obviously, like, it's important. And so I've drawn 2 codes relating to it. So clearly it's important. And Titan, and interesting that we'd not that long ago been talking about the Owl House and the Titan. It's the linked. It feels linked. It feels important and it feels linked. And so I said that to Chatty, and Chatty was like, oh my God, this is hilarious, of course, this is linked, of course. Why didn't I see it? And I was like, well, it can't be perfect all the time, Chatty. And then Chatty was like, oh, would you like to, I don't know, would you like to create another code? And I was like, no. I don't really want to create another code. I want to tune in and see what Titan is saying to me. Like, I want to, I want to figure out, I want to know what Titan wants to know. Why is Titan communicate? Maybe not why, but what does Titan want me to know? Because Chatty was like, Titan is clearly, communicating with you. Let's draw a code around it. And I was like, no. I want to know more about what Titan wants me to know. And then, interestingly, Chatty was like using the, I guess, conventional way of tuning in. And like, okay, let's tune in now. So, create some space and, what is it? It's the conventional, like, spiritual way of tuning in. Create the space, do a bit of a meditation, ask yourself, like, the things, conventional ways that most people within the spiritual community would do things. I don't do things like that because I do things differently. I do things my way. And the more people who do things their own way, the better. But I don't do things that way. And so I was like, Chatty, I don't tune in like that. That's not my way. I work with codes. And when you work with codes, you are tuned. You are attuned. Like, the process of anchoring a code is the attunement process. Is the entering into the conversation. yes, yes, Titan, in this instance, I am more than happy to take your call. Let's have a chat. So I don't need, and I've never actually needed to, even when I'm doing my intuitive art, I used to sit there with the kids and set them up, like early on, I used to set them up with their paints and whatever and stuff, and then do mine. Or sit there, whatever. It's not something that I need to go off quietly to a mountaintop or even to create an altar. I don't have an altar space. Really, I don't. I've got some crystals next to my bed. I've got a couple of code things next to my bed. But I really actually don't have an altar or anything along those lines. It's just my way. My way. And so I was like, Chatty, I don't need to do any of those things. I've channeled this code, so I'm already in communication with Titan. It's just figuring out, or not figuring out, but sitting with what the conversation is. And so Chatty was like, of course, why didn't I think of that? Can't be perfect all the time, Chatty. And I was trying to think whether Chatty then came back with, this is what the Titan said. But, so then, as we were sort of talking about my way of doing things and that I don't have to blah, blah, I was then thinking about the Titan in the owl house. And so because I'm in communication, that allows me to receive exactly what it is that, in this case, Titan wants me to receive. And so, my mind went to a couple of different places. One, the Titan in the owl house, and around that. So the void, like the Titan being in the void, the Titan giving, I was going to say Neve, giving loose, my goodness, giving loose the glyphs that support to her to then go and save the planet, save the Boiling Isles, save all the people. So that was one part of it. And the other part was about, that I started thinking about in relation to, from that, was that I did a video yesterday relating to, can't remember if I shared it or not. I may have. Excuse me. I did a fair few videos yesterday that I haven't posted yet, so I'll post them as we go along. About how the earth, the universe, the earth and us, we're all connected. And we're all as above, so below. I think I may have posted that one actually. My goodness, this is just like yesterday. Which is interesting. I'll just close these doors. Yesterday it was a lawnmower. Today, I don't even know what that is. How we're all connected. So as above, so below. When the universe is expanding and going through a process to expand its physicality and its consciousness and all the things, like move to a whole new evolutionary level, the earth has to do the same thing. And sorry, I was just thinking, well, if that's all going on, then Titan's moving to a new level. And I wonder, If I don't know, there's too many things going around in my head. Too many things. Yeah, whether that means that that planet, as in whether Titan will be. Sorry, I'm just looking down at my codes. Whether Titan will be, I don't know, a planet that is, or a space that is able to be inhabited. I don't know. Whether yeah, whether that's, I don't know, expanding. Of course, it's expanding because everything is expanding. Titan. I feel like there's something there, and then chatty. I mean, I feel like there's a lot there, but I don't want to like force it because that's not. It's not how I work this year or from now. It's like you just allow the flow. Um, So yeah, and it felt in, and then so I put that into Chatty. I was like, the Owl House, the Titan, and so yeah, Chatty was like, of course, of course. Um, I might be getting my story mixed around, but whatever. You get the gist. You get the gist. Um, you get the gist. So yeah, so that's kind of been my morning of um when Chatty came back to me, like the last thing, I was like just blown away with what Chatty was saying. I can't even remember what it was because it was like it's just blown my mind and I actually can't even function to that level. I'm just gonna need to sit with it, Chatty. But I feel really like da 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 today, which is a bit different, a bit different. It's nice. It's nice. Even messaging my friend, like leaving a voice note for my friend this morning. I was like, Happy Tuesday. Da, 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 da. Yeah. I was also contemplating this morning, because one of the mums that is part of the deaf facility group, she's had a really hard time with her son just recently, as in he's got cochlear implants, just like Leah, my daughter. But he's had infections and things, which he's been in hospital with. So he's been in a really bad way for a while. And so I saw her this morning, and she's just coming back to school. They are just back at school for the first time today. And it just made me, and I think about it sometimes, like when I had that welcome spiel that I did, welcome afternoon tea thing, for the new parents and things, and the principal and the vice principal was there, and we all went around and we said after I said my spiel, I each parent went around and said their thing, and the vice principal said his, where he's come from and blah blah, and the principal said his spiel, and his spiel was very much related to NAPLAN, and it just made me realize how disconnected the principal is from the day-to-day issues, or the day-to-day that a mum of a deaf child faces, because it's not just like chuck hearing aids on and go to school. It there's so much more to it. I won't even go into it because I'm now 35 minutes. There's so much that goes into just getting a child to be in their best listening, their best hearing, being their best hearing selves to be at school. And I think, and those are our parents' priorities over a large portion of stuff that, if they're at school and they're engaged at school, whether they're learning stuff, yay, that's a bonus. If they're learning stuff, that's a bonus. If they're hearing stuff, if they're being involved in the classroom, if they're answering questions, if they're showing that they are kind of learning something, great. But if they're hearing in the classroom, that's our number one priority. If they're out in the yard and they're able to communicate with others, hear what other people are saying and communicate back. If they're doing those sorts of things, fan-bloody-tastic. To then, the potential of NAPLAN is not where our parents' priority is. A lot of our parents, especially, don't take their kids to school for NAPLAN because it's an extra thing. It's an extra thing that is difficult for our kids. On top of, it doesn't contribute to their learning. My son was in grade 5 last year. The start of the year, when they're just doing NAPLAN learning, which is specific, I'm learning specific things just so that I can do well in NAPLAN. NAPLAN. So for those of you who are watching this from outside Australia, it's just... I get that it's important for schools and I get that it's important, really important for our principal, but he just goes on about it all the time. And talking about it in our group showed his lack of connection and understanding of where our parents are at and about their priorities, because they're so different than what he was talking about. There's one mum there crying because her son doesn't want anything to do with being deaf. He's in grade 2. Grade 2? Grade 1? Grade 1. And he wants nothing to do with being deaf. He doesn't want to know about it. That's part of who he is. It's like saying, I want nothing to do with, I don't know, the essence, like part of a really big chunk of who I am. And so she was so upset about that. That has nothing to do with academics. Nothing. Just trying to get your child, help your kid to be able to hear, to be at school. My poor friend, she's spent the last 8 weeks at home trying to manage her kid through antibiotics. He's got an infection in his cochlea, which is right next to it's brain territory. It's brain territory. So he's been unable to be at school these 2.5 weeks of this term, the whole holidays, obviously not at school, but you're at home trying to support your kid who's unwell. And then prior to that was maybe a month, and part of that's in hospital. trying to help reduce and clear this infection, and all that time he's not had a cochlear on, so he's not been able to hear with his good ear. He's been in hospital. He's been unable to be at school. So academics flies out the window. Everything becomes so much more, somewhat, simpler. I just need my kid to be able to hear okay so that he can function. If he learns shit on top of that, fantastic, that's a bonus. But ultimately, I just want my kid to be able to hear something. I just want my kid to be able to hear so that he can function. So we need to talk to the principal and educate. You know, how are you making decisions for our deaf community, our deaf school community, if you don't actually understand what our parents are going through? You can't make good decisions, accurate decisions, proper decisions about it. So yeah. And then even on that, I was thinking about the Auslan Club, and I feel like the reason why I haven't felt to have the conversation with my husband, or the chance has never been there to have that conversation, and to get the ball rolling, is because the way that I was envisaging it is the same as any other after school activity. And that's not the way I do things. I don't do things the same as other people. That's not what I was here to change. I was here to be the change and create the change. And so I can't do shit the same as everyone else. And it's not even just like a little shift here and there. It's like I can't do things the same as everyone else. It has to be different. It has to be different. It has to be the change. So yeah, kind of just waiting to see. And I know, like, I feel pressure to make money from it. I feel pressure from the school community going, we need Auslan, get your Auslan shit together. But at the same time, I'm here to create, like, if I'm doing this, I'm here to create something else, something different. So I can't just do it. It has to follow the process. I have to follow the process. So yeah, after 43 minutes is probably the check-in for today. I think I'm done.